Joel's polls. Hit
I'm
us,
on.
Joel.
I'm on stage.
Now, gentlemen, please welcome Joel to the stage. Get those singles out
Hello.
and be generous.
Woo! Look. We did a good. I did a good poll this last week, and for anyone who is not watching this but listening, shout out to Spotify and iTunes. Is the job market heating up? And what really spurred this poll on was I saw an article that said there was a September surge. It was more of a September splurge. Or now we're going to be on the October purge.
Oh.
Because we're just on the verge. But is the job market
the realest
With
rapper recruiter?
surge.
Look out, Raul is coming.
Yo. But I said we're in the final quarter of 2024, which blows my mind.
Crazy,
It's
right?
really easy for me to keep track of time because my kid was born on January 2nd. But I told people, I just asked the question, is your company hiring? I've done this poll in the past, and what I will say is that the last 3 times I've done this poll, it's been like 60% of people have said they're hiring and 40% have said no. So prediction here, do you think that's gone up or do you think that's gone down?
I think up.
Oh, you're optimistic.
Yeah, I'm going to say down. I'm a cynic.
You're Simon Sinek.
Yes.
It's crazy that's his last name. All right, anyway, yeah, I know. Anyway, let's see the result here. Is your company hiring? It went down. Look, since then we've had, so right there it's 2,000 votes. We've had, I think we're at 2,200 votes. This is at almost 50,000 impressions on there. So that's a good base, and we've seen 54% of people are still saying that their company's hiring. A lot of people, a lot of agency recruiters in there, so you got to always keep in mind they're always hiring. But look, it's still really tough, right? And I don't see this changing in the near future. So Danielle, what are your thoughts? You think we're going to see a big shift after the election?
I think it's tough to know what's going to happen exactly, but yes, I do think that there's going to be a big shift after the election. I think there's going to be a shift in a lot of things. I think the stock market's going to shift. I think the hiring landscape's going to shift. I did feel like the job market was heating up. I recorded a video 2 weeks ago that I was going to post, but then I didn't post it. And maybe that's why. Maybe my intuition was saying that's actually false. But I am preparing a free guide for what to do in this lull time between when when you're preparing and when you land the role. So I think that I'm excited to see how things shake up. I think a lot of companies are probably determining their budget, finalizing their budget for next year, and I'm kind of optimistic that they're going to try to make those maybe more dynamic hires. I'm optimistic about more dynamic
personality hires.
Yeah, personality hires all the way.
Adam, what are you seeing out there?
Well, but this is real. I think that there's companies that have, it's two different fold. They have budgets, they have open roles, and we're trying to fill them because there's money on the table right now in 2024. I have companies that are hiring. I have other companies that we kind of hit this weird thing in recruiting where it comes to like Thanksgiving, where it's, we've got to fill this role by Thanksgiving, because if we hire somebody after Thanksgiving, they're not going to start till after the new year. Right? There's holidays, there's things involved. So we want to try to get these hires in and started before the new year. There's also a lot of companies that say, all right, we're just going to park this and we're going to pick up the search in the new year. There's also a lot of uncertainty out there, what's going on with the global, hotbed of wars and elections and all this other stuff. So I think it's, I don't know. I think there's a lot of wait and see out there in the marketplace. Luckily for me, I have a number of clients that are hiring, and you can check out all of our open roles at nhptalentgroup.com for anyone out there. Seriously, we have open roles in marketing, media, and advertising. Not just a plug. There's jobs out there. There's jobs that I don't get paid for that I'm promoting. So seriously, folks, check that out over there. There's certainly some opportunities.
And look, this poll, I think, it's always hard, right, in a LinkedIn poll to kind of accurately.
Good morning. I don't think we can hear you, Joel, but I could be wrong.
I don't know why I knew it
There
ever.
we go.
It's like the third week in a row this has happened.
Happens to the best of us, you know. It's a lot of pressure.
All right.
Yes.
Well, welcome to the HR Morning Show, everybody. It is great to be here. We're missing somebody. We're missing someone. Do
No,
we have
we're
like
not.
a sad kind of sound that we can play? Producers? No, it's not the clap. There we go. There we go.
I'm kidding. All love. Yeah.
Danielle,
Where's he at?
where are you right now? Tell us a little bit about where you're at.
Oh, I'm in Tulsa. As I mentioned last week, I'm here for a conference called Plugged In, which is a remote work conference. And I landed last night around 11:30. My bag did not arrive with me, so I am in my airplane clothes. I know how gross, but I don't have a choice. And hopefully my bag will arrive today. It's supposed to be arriving on a flight, the wrong flight, obviously, here at 9:30ish. So that's super helpful.
Well, I
Yay.
remember now we were making fun of the remote conference not being virtual, but
Yeah.
it's on site, so I love that. What are you going to be speaking on?
I'm going to be talking about managing Gen Z and how to get the most out of that workforce in a remote environment.
I love it.
Exciting.
I love
Yeah.
it. Just have them watch TikTok all day.
Exactly. Yeah. Just give them time to watch TikTok and they'll perform. But it's a double header because I'm doing one in person and then I'm doing one virtually, all about hybrid work, which is a little bit ironic, but
All right.
you know, we live for the irony.
You were lining it up for that. But
Fully.
well, again, welcome to everybody. Let us know who's out there in the chat too. We would love to see who's out there. This is a real life show. So like I'm live, Danielle is live. This is not a recording. So
And we're alive. And
we're
we're in real
alive.
life.
We're alive and we're ready to have a great show today. And if you guys haven't subscribed already, you can go find us wherever podcasts are. You can go follow us on LinkedIn, YouTube,
How cool is that?
Spotify, iTunes. There's probably some weird ones out there that we're on too that no one cares about. But anyway, you need to go to purpleacorn.io. Check out what we're doing. We've got giveaways. We got a ton of fun. We got Melody in the house, Kelly in the house. Good to see you. Charmin in the house. LinkedIn user. I love that too. Change those privacy settings. We got White
Evan, our favorite.
White Evan had to join. Look at this.
No, we don't have favorites in here. But it's very nice to be with all of you. Let us know where you're at. I'm in Tulsa. I've been traveling like a madwoman the past month. So it's been really fun. But I'm ready to get back to New York City and experience the fall weather. I say that now, but next week we'll see how I actually feel about it.
I love that.
Sourcing and listening.
Tyler here is sourcing and listening. Sourcing, it's one of my favorite things to do. It's great. And we got Melodies in Colorado. Well, we got the crew here today. So welcome everybody. We're excited. We got headlines, we've got polls, we've got great guests. We got so much.
So many guests.
This show. So why don't we move on to our first segment of the day, headlines. All right. Look, this article, I feel like this is a ongoing situation. I'd love to get your take on this, Danielle. But essentially, there's a study that's shown that nearly half of U.S. middle managers, so these are kind of like the drones. Just kidding. I love middle management. But these middle managers are more stressed out than ever before. And what this results in is the people that actually report into them, over 30% of people are reporting that they can actually feel the stress from that manager. And the areas that we're seeing a lot of this in is areas like oil and gas, hospitality, healthcare, like these really like high stress environments. Interestingly enough, we're going to have a guest later on where we're going to be talking about the hospitality industry. So I'm really looking forward to getting her take on this. But middle management's feeling stressed out. Like, does this surprise you, Danielle? What do you think the root cause of this is?
I don't think it's surprising. I actually read a report last year. I can't remember where it was, but it was all about middle managers. And, management has been a topic of conversation, a hot one the past year. Mainly, that study was looking at what are the different stressors and how do they spend their time. And the one takeaway that I thought stood out was that a lot of middle managers are spending time doing admin stuff, pushing papers, things that they really don't want to do and likely could be, automated by AI now. And, we weren't adopting AI as rapidly as we are now, a year ago. But I think that a lot of managers really would like to spend more time learning and developing not only themselves but other people and serving as sort of serving as like more of a human role internally at companies. So I would like to see them do more of that. I think when you are able to pour into someone else, it lowers your stress because you feel like you're giving, right? And it all comes back to you. So that's kind of my take on managers.
Yeah, and look, this article, it says one of the kind of the side effects of this is, and we'll talk about this later on as well, is you actually end up leaving um, leaving people feeling like they're not going to be supported. So a lot of people are reporting that um, because their
Right.
manager's stressed out, they're not able to then to actually support them and kind of guide
Right.
them.
I mean,
Um,
it's similar to like if a parent is stressed out, you're worried like you're going to get less attention, right? And I think that's such a human tendency and a human thought and belief and feeling. So I feel like in an organization where, ultimately all of us want to be learning and growing internally, I think that having a manager who's stressed out, you'd naturally feel that way.
Yeah, 100%. And look, to reiterate this too, the industries where people are feeling the most stressed out are oil, gas, and mining, retail, construction, manufacturing, transportation, logistics, supply chain, and storage. And what I think is interesting is a lot of these industries, and I've worked in a lot of these industries in recruitment, and helping them recruit talent. One of the things that I see consistently is, a lot of these industries are kind of more old school. They're less likely to have embraced things like flexibility and like seeing that as
New tools. Yeah.
yeah. I remember talking to someone about who was in manufacturing, and they're having a real tough time hiring people for that frontline production work. And I had suggested, well, why not offer some sort of schedule where you can, as you stay with the company, you could maybe pick your schedule. You could kind of morph things around a little bit. And they were like, "Yeah, that's impossible." And I was like,
Mm.
"Well, that's why these industries, if you're gonna do things the same way you did them 20, 30 years ago, you then struggle to attract people into the industry. But then if people get into the industry and then they feel like you're stressed because you're understaffed, it's a kind of a brutal circle all across the way. What do
Right.
you advice for? And you're probably going to get into this a little bit more, and obviously your talk is on this. But like, what's some advice that you have for managers when it comes to potentially attracting Gen Z, and then like how would you um, how would you kind of advise them to manage and kind of avert some of that stress that they have? Like how would you kind of what are some of the things that Gen Z is looking for, and what are some of those telltale signs that they might
Yeah.
look at and go, "Hey, you're stressed out," or maybe that they're not aware of?
Such a good question. One of the things that I talk about in this keynote that I'm doing, it's basically all around the 3 C's of managing Gen Z. And the first one is connection. And the second one is co-creation, and the third is clarity.
Mm,
And the first one is really about how do I connect with my Gen Zers, and I think the first and foremost like best way is to be transparent. And so when you're stressed and you're dealing with a lot of, factors and you're managing between different levels in an organization, like bringing your young professionals and your counterparts into the conversation to explain to them all the different factors of what you're dealing with and who you're dealing with, and kind of like bringing them into the process is one of the best ways to keep them engaged and realistically keep them happy. Because if they're asking you for something and it's adding on to your pile of stress, to say, no, I can't do that is not going to kind of be a sufficient answer. It's like, well, why? And like, I think the more that you bring us into the conversation and you kind of be vulnerable in a certain way, the better off you'll be.
Yeah. Yeah. And I also think giving people a chance, and I can see this being a challenge for a lot of managers, especially if you are new to management, you don't necessarily feel like comfortable in delegating tasks, but being able to set clear boundaries, setting clear expectations, delegating tasks, and if you've got somebody that maybe doesn't have the experience in your team, that's okay. Start giving them, jobs and working with them to actually help them grow versus just trying to
Right.
take all the tasks on yourself. I've had managers like that before that just feel like they have to take everything on, and they're not willing to almost let go of some of that work as well. So being able to delegate that. What about communication? Gen Z want more communication or less communication?
Definitely more, but I would say it depends on the channels, right? So like we don't want to be bombarded with emails or like phone calls. A lot of Gen Zers are afraid of phone calls, which I find really funny. But I think that communication, in my opinion, is best done. I mean, it obviously depends, but like one-on-one. I think that there's a certain level of respect. Obviously, it depends, where I'm major generalizing right now. But I think it's a sign of respect when you're able to, as a manager, say, I need time to sit down with this person and like give them my full attention and be not just be there, but like be present and be actively listening. I think that is something that goes a long way with this generation.
Yeah, 100%. What are your thoughts on, we have so many generations in the workplace right now, and it doesn't really feel like people talk a lot about like how communication should be done. So like what are your thoughts on like just figuring out how your team best communicates and like how they want to be managed? Would that be useful? Like that it's obviously everybody, no matter what generation they're in, they're gonna have different preferences with this. But I find a lot of time people, they don't take the time to even figure out like, okay, what's the best way to communicate? Like,
Right.
do you prefer a Slack? Do you prefer a phone call? 'Cause I know some people who love phone calls and love to just talk things out versus going through email. Thoughts on like how you could facilitate those conversations?
It's so funny because next week I'm doing another Gen Blend episode with my friend Sophie Wade, where we like
Shout out,
dissect. Yeah, shout out Sophie. We dissect these like intergenerational questions that are really critical to the way we work. And next week is all about, is your team communicating effectively? So we did not set this up, but you just posed that question,
I
which is
plugged it.
crazy.
That's what I always do.
But one of the things we're talking about in like the solutions part, which is at the end of the talk, is going to be about like team agreements, and coming up with not just like playing it by ear. I think that adds to the stress of management when they don't know what channels to communicate on. If like, someone's not responding to the Slack message, but you need everyone to respond in order to move forward with like setting a meeting time or something like that. Or not everyone's responding to an email. I think that I think it's great to sort of establish your working agreement, establish as a team how are we going to communicate. What's the channel that really is like a emergencies only, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that's something that we're going to dive a little bit into next week. So tune in Wednesday at 12:30 p.m. Eastern time.
You heard it. You heard it first here on Purple Acorn and the HR Morning Show, which I love.
you
And
did.
special shout out to the Pause who is in the house. We miss you a little bit, but hopefully Pause is
Only
feeling
a little.
100% this week. It's great to see you. Why don't we move on to our next headline, Danielle?
Heck yeah. All right, let's do it. So there was a report that found that 39% of Gen Z wants to work in small businesses. And some of the reasons for that include career development and growth, social impact, and location. So what's really interesting is I was talking to someone about my own career, as I've only worked or mostly worked at startups, and I've done an internship at a big company. It was a media company. It was really fun. But ultimately, my question from that experience was, well, what am I actually impacting? I'm kind of just making big companies more money. And like one of the, I'll never forget, one of the accounts was Trolley, or Trolley, however you pronounce it, like the candy company. And
Yeah.
I was like, so we're basically selling products to make kids less healthy, and that just is depressing. So I was like, all right, this isn't my jam, and I went into like more of the startup space, and specifically, in an area of like impact. And my first internship actually was at the USC Shoah Foundation, which they study like different types of genocides. It started with like the Holocaust, but then they went into other genocides as well, and they collect testimonies, and it was an incredible experience. So that's where like I started. And then when I graduated college, I went and worked for a startup, and then another one, and then another one. And in my opinion, I think that startups are the way that you can get the most experience the fastest, and you can get exposed to a lot. Obviously, working at a big company is super different. Joel, I'm curious like what your experience has been, but I feel like in terms of getting your hands dirty and getting, kind of like the power to execute and the power to experiment and to lead projects, I've had some of the best experiences, at startups, and I don't think I would get it nearly as much, maybe exposure to like certain industries if I were to go to a big company, but like exposure to the types of people I've been exposed to the rooms, to the opportunities, and all the rest. So I'm a big fan of this, and I think Gen Z, given that we are very entrepreneurial minded, being in small businesses makes a lot of sense for us.
Yeah, 100%. And someone said, excellent that Gen Z wants to work in small companies. It's a great opportunity to wear many hats, which I
Oh,
which I think
hello.
is true. Maesh, hello, good to see you. But yeah, no, look, the reality is, I think there's a shift going on where, too, like I can't imagine there's too much trust with large companies, and we've talked about this a lot, where every time a large company says in their culture page, like, we really respect our people, we treat them well, very fluffy language in a lot of these career pages, and then you read headlines when you actually search the company and you go news, and it'll be like, so and so shed 15% of the workforce. And it's just, when you have those two narratives, it just creates an environment of I think less trust. I think there's
Mm,
opportunity with, and it's interesting here. It doesn't actually say startup, which obviously you were talking a lot about startups, which I
yeah,
can see, but I also think this massive opportunity with just small business in general. Like I've worked at small businesses that weren't necessarily startups, but maybe they've been around for 5 or 6 years, and then we witnessed. I've been in these companies where I've witnessed growth happening, because maybe the client base grew, or maybe they changed something. But I think there's something about being involved in something smaller and like going through that growth phase versus working somewhere where the growth phase has already been established, the brand's
right.
already been established. And so I think if you're looking for like purpose, meaning, um, also a challenge, like I want to just say, I think working at a big company, you get a lot of the perks. You usually get paid really well, you usually get good benefits. You also get the perk of saying X whatever company on your LinkedIn profile, helps your resume. There's a lot of reasons why people
Right.
gravitate towards large companies. But like, to your point, the experience, the knowledge that you're likely to get, and in these small companies, it might be like, all right, we've got this project, who can do it? You then have to be willing to step forward. So I think where I can see some of the challenges with this is, I think when you work for a smaller company, you can't really hide, right? You've got to take ownership. So I still
Right.
think like you have to be that right type of person to take that as well. And I think when you're working at those smaller companies, a lot of times maybe you don't get the same flexibility that you might get at a larger company, right? Because if you walk away from a larger company, no one misses you. At a smaller company, sometimes you just have those critical tasks that need to get done. So what do you think that factors in? Because I do feel like with a lot of smaller companies, you maybe don't get as much flexibility or like perks.
Mhm.
Is it more, from what I'm hearing, it's more about the purpose, more about like the experience?
Right. Well, I think it depends, because I have a friend, I think of a friend of mine who runs a marketing agency, and that's a small business, but all of his employees can be remote first, right? Like most of them are located in the same city and county, and they come together maybe like once a month, but at the same time, you can ask for that flexibility, like to travel, for 3 weeks or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So I think it depends. I think when you are working for a smaller business, like my family's business is a small one, but it is one where you have to be there in person most of the time, like unless you're kind of more in the C-suite. But I think it's interesting because when you're in a bigger company, you don't necessarily have the same attention that you would. You don't have to take up as much space. And so when you're at a smaller business, there are definitely things you can ask for. You could build more emotional connection to the owners, and they can get to know you as a person, and they might show up for you in different ways that you wouldn't have imagined. I've had, my dad has given someone a car before, like, he helps out his employees in
Is it
different ways.
you? No, I'm just kidding.
Nope. Actually, maybe. But I was in college. But yeah, I think there's pros and cons to both. But I'm a big fan of this trend.
Well, guys, let me know what you think in the chat, because I'm always curious to hear what the audience thinks. Maybe let us know if you're not afraid of like Gen Z, millennial, what generation you're associated with, and like whether you would prefer a smaller or a bigger company. I would
Yeah,
love to hear from you guys. And if
we
you're
don't have a Gen Xer to balance us out this week, so we can
Yeah,
say whatever
no.
we want.
No Gen X. Those Gen X is always they're just friendly. Anyway, well, why don't we move on to our next segment, the ERIN Roundup.
So fun.
So much fun. I love that. Shout out to our production team for putting together the best graphics, the best sound, only on the HR Morning Show. There we go.
Gave themselves a round of applause. We love that.
Any way you could get me that noise, like when I wake up in the morning, I would love that. All right,
I needed that today.
I need that, like anytime like I get like a sale, like I could just look around and be like, yes, thank you. Adam is friendly. We got Adam in the chat. You're a friendly guy, okay? Well, look, we're looking about HR events. So what I would love to know from people in the audience is, what are some of the events you're going to? Are you going to any of these events? We got some great ones. We've got SourceCon coming up. We've got the ERE Recruiting Conference. We've got Transform 2025. And we've got Talent Acquisition Week coming up as well. I would love to know from you guys where you're going to be at. Danielle, what are you least excited about? No, I'm just kidding. That would be terrible. What are some of the events that you're going to be there in person for? What are you excited about?
Yeah. Well, there's a chance I'm at TA Week in February, because my mom lives out in LA, so it'll be nice to go visit her. But Transform, going to be there. I'm going to do a formal announcement at some point in the next 2 weeks, but I'm going to be speaking. I'm going to be shaking up some the stages with some Gen Z content, and hopefully bringing some more Gen Zers to Vegas, but we'll see about that. It's a very ambitious dream. Yeah, I've never been to the other ones, but Transform, it'll be my second time.
Amazing.
So what about you?
Amazing. Yeah, SourceCon's coming up. I'm unfortunately not going to be available then, and I think with ERE, I'm actually going to England at the end of this month for a wedding, so I've like kind of got that mixed up in the travel plans. But yeah, Transform, I will be there again, and then I know with Purple Acorn, we're going to be cooking up something special. We got Adam Posner in the house. Adam, you seem really active in the chat. I really feel like we should just plug you into this live show.
Adam, is it Posner or Posner?
Posner.
He's a poser.
The pause. The pause. All right. So pause is going to be at ERE and Transform. Purple Acorn is going to be doing something special at TA Week. So really excited to hear.
That's a sleigh.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear what that is going to be about. But yeah, I'd look any other conferences you guys are going to be into in the chat. Let us know. Would love to hear from that. But those are the events, so that's where you can find us. Let's move on to our next segment here. Hey, Lynn.
Hello there. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. How are you?
I am fabulous. So you ran that whole list of events and you missed the big one happening like tomorrow.
We got to save it for you. That's why.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm on site. We're getting ready for Unleash World. Starting to get some stuff locked in.
What's
So,
What's it looking like out there?
There is a chance of an alien landing at some point, is what I hear.
I've been on the lookout. I haven't seen anything as of yet.
Yeah. I have some early sightings that are already happening.
Really?
His swag already showed up behind me, so that's usually a telltale sign he's coming right along with it.
I love that. Are you able to kind of show us some of the swag that you've got on offer here behind you?
You know I can. Okay, here we go. Here, I'm so excited. Whoop, bumping in. We've got handy dandy new mugs.
Oh, look at that!
Isn't he cute?
So cute. I love that.
He's so cute. I love him. He's like my I guess. New handy dandy water bottles.
Oh, I like those.
Right? Yeah, those are super cool. And then we've got some other fun stuff happening here that you're not going to be able to see unless you're here. But we're gonna do some filming later on. We'll give you a shot. We've got some games going on, which will be very cool. So the whole theming here is an 80s arcade. If that gives you a sense for where we're headed.
I love that. I love that.
Yep.
Amazing. So what's like the vibe there so far? Everybody upbeat, excited.
Yeah, everybody's excited. So here's fun. I'll tell you a funny story. So we're in Paris, right? And I shouldn't say this if there's probably some French people watching. It's an interesting location to do an event at, right? This huge expo center, and on the bottom 2 floors is the French National Car Show is going on.
Oh, cool.
And we could not figure out how to get up to the 3rd floor. So we spent a good portion of the morning roaming around trying to get up to the 3rd floor while basically just kind of hanging out at the car show. When security just let us go wherever we wanted. It was the oddest thing. So
that has to be a massive building then. So you're on the 3rd floor.
We're on the 3rd floor of the 7th building. So there are 7 massive buildings here at the Paris Expo Center, and we're in the 7th building on the 3rd floor. So there's a lot going on here.
So tell us about the Winston Watch Party. How can people sign up? What do they need to be prepared for?
It's okay. So it's super simple. You can follow us on any of your socials. #WhereIsWinston or #UnleashWorld.
Okay.
And we are tracking sightings of Winston around the world. People are out on the lookout for him. We expect that he's going to start showing up here pretty soon. I can't show you that yet. He's almost here.
All right. Well, you heard that. So hashtag was it Unleash? Give us it again.
Unleash World and #Where is Winston.
Okay. #Where is Winston and hashtag Unleash World. Guys, follow on all the socials. Keep track. We're gonna see lots more sightings as well. So, we lost you. This is what happens when we're live show. All right, so guys, if you didn't catch that, that's #Watch Winston and then #Unleash World. So go follow those hashtags on all of your socials to keep track. And let's go on some videos because I think a couple of us have had some sightings already. Let's go check that out.
in search of Winston. So I came to the highest point in my town, Merrick. This is a Merrick Preserve, also known as the old garbage dump that they turned into a nature walk. It's the highest point. We're gonna look up at the sky. I can't find Winston. Oliver, do you see Winston anywhere? Do you look up at the sky? Do you see Winston? You know what we need?
Yeah.
We need binoculars? Yes, we're gonna find some binoculars and we're gonna see if we can find Winston. Maybe up there. Who knows? Ollie,
What are you guys looking for?
we're looking for Winston.
Where is Winston?
We don't know. Winston's up in the sky, and Winston is supposed to land on October 16th. Where's
Wow.
Smart Recruiters Winston? Let's find out together. Ollie, what are you looking for?
Winston.
Where's Winston? Is Winston up in the sky?
No.
Well, try using the binoculars, see if you can see Winston. Not down, up.
Maybe Winston is in the ground.
What are you looking for, buddy?
I'm looking for Winston.
Ollie, what are you looking for?
Winston.
Do you see Winston up there?
No.
Feels like something's coming. Hopefully, it's not another hurricane. I thought these were for the golf course, but I think they're gonna come in handy to spot something else. Winston. Let's take a look and see if we can find him now. I'm not seeing much besides a squirrel. Some pretty birds too. I'm waiting. The powers that be tell me I should look on October 16th. All right, I'll see you then. Feels like something's coming. Hopefully, it's not.
All right. Where is everybody? Not just where's Winston, where's everybody? Anyway, guys, you need to check out on October 16, check out the hashtag where is Winston and unleash world. We're super excited. Expect more and more sightings all over social. We're really excited for this huge launch. So let me know in the chat too. And by the way, shout out to Adam there, because those videos, I was really impressed with that video. You got the kids involved. The creativity there was amazing. I would have probably used one of those mics with like the furry thing on top to catch the wind. And then Danielle too, you did such a great job with your video as well. Well done.
Thank you. Did you miss me? I was on the phone with Delta because they lost my bag. So
Oh,
that's fun.
That's what you need the binoculars for, to try and track
It definitely wasn't Winston. That's for sure.
No, Delta, can you help us find Danielle?
Yeah, no.
Find Danielle's bags. That's what we're doing.
Thank you. Maybe Winston on his way. We'll drop it from the sky.
How
Maybe
amazing
that'll
did that
happen.
booth look though? It looks like they Lynn really
No,
knows.
honestly, that sounds super cool. 80s arcade. I don't even know what that feels like. I was born in the 90s, so
Yeah, it was just way better, and you missed out on a ton. So
I've heard. Yeah, no, it's gonna be good.
White
So-
Evans asking if you
He's
found it.
concerned. He's concerned. My Funkle Evan. Yeah, Delta. You know that it's supposed to be getting off a different flight from Atlanta to Tulsa this morning. So possibly right now. So well, let's hope I have it for this afternoon for a in-person podcast recording. But we'll see.
No, you'll be good. You'll be
I'll
good.
keep you guys posted. The saga is continuing on my LinkedIn. Just go read my last post. It's fun.
Go watch Danielle's stories. It's just her crying the whole time. Going.
Just me calling my mom in tears.
It's
it's
all right.
fine.
Let me know in the comments. Anyone, what is your favorite airline to travel with? Is it Delta? Let us know. We want to know. But yeah, the Winston watch out, the lookout party is good. I'm super excited about that as well. I've got my video coming. It's just my kids aren't as they're not as moldable as Adam's kids. Like Adam's kids.
Adam,
seem-
your kids are really cute. Really
Nina's
cute.
just like, Winston. I'm like, Nina's a pro, so my kids would just scream and go and like take the binoculars and throw them on the floor. Don't want that to happen, but we're super excited. So tune in tomorrow and go follow those hashtags as well, all over social. So wherever you're online, We're gonna see lots of sightings in the next few days, I'm sure, which is really, really cool. Well,
Unleashed World, that looked fun.
yeah, and
Have
if
you ever been there?
no, I've never been. I've been to Unleash in Vegas, but not in Paris. They don't let me. They don't let me out of the country. Although I'm going to the UK, so I don't know how that's gonna work. But
Yeah, I just got a new pass. I've filed for a new passport, so hopefully it comes in time for my my getaway in December. But who knows? Maybe I'll be waiting for it at the airport.
well, I think too we can use this. What do they call these? A QR code. The QR
Oh
code
yeah.
for this.
Yeah, what's the QR code for,
I'm
Joel?
so scripted. This is how you can sign up for the Winston Watch Party. So if you're interested, follow the hashtags, and you can use this QR code too. Maybe it's not. Why doesn't someone test a
Wait, I
QR
want to
code
try
right
it now.
now and let me know? Nikki Russell in the house. We should do
See what
Wreckfest in
happens.
the UK next year. We'll see. We'll see. You know, look, everything I do right now, I gotta run by like people in my life. Okay, so I can't always do that. Well, why don't look everybody go sign up for the Winston Watch Party. Go
I'm
sign up.
signing
Don't
up.
miss up. Don't mess up. Don't mess out. Junaid, great to see you. Why don't we move on to the next segment with our first call?
Welcome. Welcome, Heather.
Good morning.
Good morning. Where are you calling in from?
I'm calling in from Healdsburg, California, and I just woke up.
Well, you know, California girls. I love that. I love this library is quite extensive.
Oh, thank you. I am in my garage.
Wow. It doesn't look like a garage. It looks like a fancy garage. I love it. What is your number one book recommendation at the moment?
Well, I have to do this. It's the
Oh,
one
yeah.
I wrote.
The best one, obviously. So you
But,
know it's very authentic because
yeah.
it's coming directly from you.
Yes. Yeah, I lost my filters. I don't know, maybe 10 years ago.
I love it. Tell me how.
Well, I think I just got tired of trying to be somebody other than me, and I just had to embrace my weirdo.
I love that. Retweet, literally. I feel like when you try to be someone you're not, like everyone can tell, you know?
Yeah, but you're working so hard that you can't tell.
Right.
And I just, it was too much, and I gave up, and it's been okay. It's really been okay. But you have to just like not care about a whole range of stuff.
So I saw your recent post that it got some attention. Could you tell, everyone in the audience about that post, where it came from, and also the piece on salary.com?
Yeah, so I write a daily newsletter, and I've been doing it for 2 years, and my
Wow.
writing friends have been telling me, write every day, and I was like, why would I do that? So I've been writing every day, and I read some research that said that women are paid less because they have babies, or they might have babies. And I have experienced that personally. I've been in the rooms while people had those discussions, and so I had a moment, and wrote a little feminist rant with the tagline "Dicks are not destiny." And it got some attention.
It's interesting because the last time I checked, a man and a woman were both required to have a child?
Actually, it's men who cause pregnancy.
Oh, great. And what I'm also curious about, and I've heard this before, and I've experienced it firsthand, that like women can be the people who sometimes tear down other women. So what's your take on that? What's your experience with it? Obviously you've been in these rooms. What do you think about that?
I think that it was very real for a long time, because when I came out of law school into law firms, they were all men. And the women assistants did not want to work for women because they didn't think they had power. And the opportunities to advance for women were very limited. And so instead of attacking the real problem, we attacked each other.
Right.
And so I think we've gotten over that to a large extent, most of us, because women are awesome. But it's still a problem, and we're
Yeah.
critical of each other, and in ways that we don't need to be.
Right.
We need to lift as we climb and support each other and celebrate our awesomeness and hype each other.
Amen. It's interesting because I just celebrated the Jewish holidays, the highest holidays of the year.
Yes.
Um,
Blessing.
and yes, thank you. And the highest holiday of the year in Judaism is called Yom Kippur, and it's basically, the translation is Day of Atonement, and it's where you atone for all your sins. And I feel like I just have a heightened awareness right now of these like negative thoughts or gossip or all the things that we're not supposed to do. And I feel like it's been such a good check for me of like, maybe I need to do this more often, but I think just like having a heightened awareness in your everyday of like the power of your words and, your attitudes towards other people, not just, all people, but also like women and minorities. I'm curious for you, like, how do you check yourself every day, and how do you suggest other people do the same?
Yeah. So I don't know. It was probably about the time I lost my filters, but I made a resolution. It's the only one I've ever kept, but it was to let my complaints go and always put my compliments in writing. And it changed my life.
Wow.
Because my focus had to shift from what was wrong to what was awesome. And we don't tell each other that enough. And so I don't, when the UPS guy, wrangles everything onto my porch, UPS hears about it in writing about how awesome he is, and they're always shocked. They're shocked.
Yeah.
It's like,
100%. It's funny enough, when I lost my bag last night at 12:30 in the morning, I got on with Delta's like text message, because their calls.
Right.
It's not a 24-hour line.
Right.
And at the end, it ended up that the Delta representative came to the bag claim area at the like last moment, right before I got in my Uber. Like things happen, when things happen like that, I'm like, wow, like the universe, right? And then I text the woman back on the chat line, and I'm like, never mind, like, thanks for your help. I got like the sweetest message back. She was like, you have no idea how much it means when people, respond with kindness and empathy, and I really appreciate you. And I was like, I felt like I was being bitchy on the on the text.
Yeah.
I was overtired. I was like, it was at 1 a.m., but apparently my sort of kindness went a lot further than I thought it did.
It's huge. It is so powerful, and it is so easy.
Yeah.
We just have to focus on the good stuff.
Yeah, 100%.
And especially right now.
100%. Yeah, I think it can go a long way. And just to kind of close out, and My last two questions for you. One of them is, for the men in the room, what advice do you have for them in terms of, improving pay equity and helping women fight for what we deserve?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, it's easy. It's math, right? Look at your data and fix the problem. You don't have to change your biases. You don't have to change your life. You don't have to do anything except look at the data and fix the problem.
Right.
Throw money at it. And organizations are good at money and math. They really
Right.
are.
Right.
But
Exactly.
we have to get off the discrimination bus and look at outcomes and start fixing those as much as we can. And I think, it's one of those situations where we start changing our behavior and the problem will start to resolve.
Ah, beautiful. My last question for you is you've already left us with so many gems, but what's one message that you want people to walk away with today?
I hate these questions.
I know, but it could be something that you tell yourself, like what I asked you before,
You are safe and loved, and everything is okay in this moment.
Oh, beautiful.
That's what I tell myself.
Safe and loved, and I feel like we need more of these kind of conversations on this show. I love what you're bringing, and I love the authenticity. And keep doing you. A daily newsletter is really hard, so major props. That is incredible.
Thank you for inviting me. This has just been a delight.
Yes, of course. All right.
You're doing great.
Thank you. Hope to see you back here soon.
Okay.
All right. Bye, Heather.
All right, this time my mic is working because the last 3 times I've been on mute. But Rona, welcome. It's so good to see you. It's when did we do our podcast?
I don't know. I think it was like a few months ago, probably
A few
2
months
months
ago.
ago. Yeah.
Well, why not, for anyone who doesn't know you, why don't you give us a quick intro on who you are, what you do, and then we'll get into today's conversation, which I'm really excited for.
Sure. So I'm Rona Barnett Pierce. I am I guess, former recruiter because I haven't recruited in 6 months, so I'm calling myself former recruiter. I teach.
We still welcome you. You're still.
I teach recruiters and recruiting teams how to use and leverage video to attract qualified candidates and aligned opportunities. That's really what I do. So a lot of branding and content strategy for recruiters and recruiting teams.
And so when you were recruiting, were you doing a lot of this as part of your recruitment strategy as well? Like how did you get into this?
Yeah, definitely. I saw how it worked for me. I like to tell people it's like, so I used to be a software engineer. And when I moved into recruiting, which I loved, I didn't realize how much I would have to do to gain people's trust. And I'm an introvert. So I'm not the person who's going to be sending the best cold messages out there, or definitely not cold calling anyone. I've never done a cold call, and I've been doing this for years, but I still had to be successful, right? I still had to get my job done. So I quickly learned that creating content and getting in front of more people is really the best way to gain the trust. And people would feel they would always say, and using video, right? People would always say oh, I feel like I already know you, and we've never even met.
Well, let's talk a little bit about video, because right now LinkedIn, which is a wonderful platform that I love and sometimes hate, but anyway, LinkedIn is really pushing video, and so I've been hearing a lot more stories about people going mega viral, getting millions and millions of views. But I also know that when you create video, not every video goes viral. So talk to me about what really should matter in terms of, when you're starting to create video, as you're creating video, is virality the goal? If not, what is the goal of video? What should the goal be when you're creating video for social media, if we focus on that?
I think the goal should never be to go viral, especially for people in our industry, right? You're not trying to appeal to the masses. You should be trying to appeal to a specific target, right? Candidate, client, opportunities. So, my goal and what I recommend to my clients is never to try to go viral. It's to really speak directly to the people that you want to speak to. That should be your goal. If you go viral, I guess that's a plus for some people. I know I hate it. Um, yeah, it shouldn't be going viral.
Yeah, I think look, there's ways that you can capitalize on going viral, but it's hard to control going viral, right? Like I think, one thing I've noticed, even on LinkedIn is I've had some videos that have, gone viral because they're actively pushing it, but it's really hard to decipher what is going to go and what's not. So you can't really control that. But what you can control is, like you said, your message. So give us some tips on like how you can start to understand what those prospects, candidates, clients, like how do you get in the mind and how do you start to create content that they actually care about?
So that's a great question. I mean, as recruiters, we're talking to people all day, right? You talk to clients, you talk to candidates. When you're talking to candidates, they ask you questions at the end of interviews or throughout the interview, right? So that I would always use that. I would always write those down and create content around that because that's what they want to know. And especially if multiple people were asking me similar questions about the company or the role, that's the type of content I created. So you're always talking to people. The same with clients. They have questions. You're always talking to people. Listen to them. I specifically have like a list of problems, I call them, for that my target audience has. And I try to make sure that every video I create, every piece of content speaks directly to one of those problems.
Oh, I love that. It's crucial, and it goes to I think there's a culture right now on LinkedIn, but it's across social where it's about self promotion. A lot of like, look what I've done, look at this, and it's easy to fall into that trap. I totally get it, but really, it is about speaking to the problems that your clients, your prospects' problems, speaking to them and bringing value, right, and being that value add. That's what people are looking for. What about in terms of of tech? Like, what are some of your favorite tech to use, or like, are you using tech within your process?
Yeah, I mean, I tell people to keep it simple. You don't have to have like a studio lights and all these things. I mean, I use for the most part an iPhone. Um, I have a dedicated iPhone that I just use for content. I also have cameras and stuff like that, but really you like our phones are so powerful, the cameras that they have, so you can just use that.
Yeah.
Things that I always tell people to invest in are a microphone, and they're not that expensive, but the audio is really, really important in a video. It doesn't matter how great it looks or what you're saying if people can't really hear it, or if there's like distortion or like lots of background noise and stuff
Like
like
wind, right?
yes, that kills your videos.
No,
Um,
100%. Well, I was gonna ask everybody in the audience. Let us know in the audience, um, are you doing video on LinkedIn? And if you are not doing video, let us know why. What's your opinion on why people like what holds people back? Like obviously you're coaching a lot of people on how to do video. You're working with them throughout the process. Are there like common trends and themes that you see with recruiters and like why they wouldn't start video? Like what are some of the common trends that you see with your clients?
yeah, so a lot of people are like, "Oh, I'm not always camera ready, like wearing makeup and stuff like that." I'm like, "Come on, they're filters. Half of the time I'm not wearing makeup on on, on camera." And then also people don't know what to say. It's so interesting to me that I work with people who are great at written content and they don't know how to make that short and punchy for a video. And I think that's really what stops a lot of people.
So someone and for some reason LinkedIn user who just said that's just because your privacy settings are on. Let us know who that is. But it says 4 out of 5 people I've told to post videos have gone viral, million plus views. Danielle, is that you? No, Danielle on the show, and she's got LinkedIn user. Shame on you, Danielle. All right. So Danielle said 4 out of 5 people are told to post videos have gone viral. 1 million views. It's so interesting you say that though about not knowing how to translate the written to the video, because I think that like to me like that you want to have something written out, but you don't want to be unnatural. You want to be natural. But it's so interesting to me that's going from video. Like, what do you think the major difference is? Like, what are some of the mistakes that you see where you're like, hey, look, you're great at written content, but here are the things you need to work on video to get good?
I think with written content, you really have to over explain stuff because there's not a visual and people aren't really hearing. So it tends to be longer. On video, it's the opposite. You really need to get right to the point and you need to say things like really quickly for people to like, because no one's sitting there and watching a 4-minute, 5-minute video on LinkedIn. It's not going to happen. So I think that's really what most of the people I work with struggle. It's like, okay, how do I say this same thing, but shorter?
Yeah, I love it. And look, I don't know. There's another change that's happened too the past few days. I don't know if you heard about this, but YouTube, they used to have shorts capped at a minute, and now they're capping it at about 3 minutes. So, are you exploring like other avenues? Obviously, LinkedIn's a huge focus, right, for employee or for prospects and candidates. What about other platforms? Like, how do you kind of approach that with clients? Are you saying, hey, try and just repurpose content across platforms? Is that not really a focus? What are your thoughts on that?
And first I like literally danced in my office when I heard that shorts is going to be longer than a minute because oh my gosh, I've been waiting for that.
I
But
know.
yeah,
Same here.
the content sometimes I'll post the exact same video on multiple platforms, but at the end of the day, you start to know your audience on different platforms and you know what things work. Like on Instagram, no one really wants to hear about specific things where I'm saying like recruiters, this, none of that content ever works for me on Instagram. If I'm saying something more broadly appealing, that works. If I'm talking about something more like I did a podcast episode recently about like reinvention and things like that that could apply to more people, then that works on Instagram. YouTube, it's different. Really, it's knowing your audience on each platform and understanding that not all the content is going to work on each platform. Some platforms I do a shorter version of a video that on LinkedIn might be a minute and a half. Well, if I do it on TikTok, it might be 30 seconds or something like that. So it really, you have to know your audience on each platform. And that's what I do with clients. We like look at what works on each platform before deciding what to post on each.
Amazing. So if someone was outside of just giving you a call and working with you, if someone was like looking to dabble and maybe get started for themselves and they just want to test the water, what's your advice for people in just getting started? Like what should they do? What should they not do? What should they focus on? What should they not focus on?
I think the easiest way to start, look at one of your written posts that has worked well and turn that into bullet points. So let's say you're going to say, I don't know, whatever, you say a paragraph, when you write on LinkedIn,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
write a paragraph of everything.
Poetry. That's what they
Yeah.
call it.
Take the first sentence of each of those paragraphs and just say it as a bullet point and use your hook and your call to action. Bam, you've got a video. You've shortened your post. It will most likely work well because it worked well in long format. So if you do that in a shorter format and just video and just people seeing you, just straight camera to like your face to the camera and just speak those things, that's a great way to start.
What about if someone like would you recommend then somebody who hasn't done any content? Are you recommending people start with written content versus jumping into video, or would you say, hey, just even if you haven't written content, just go for it?
If you haven't written content, just go for it on video. It's so much easier, in my opinion, to start with video. You learn so much more about your audience. You get immediate feedback of what works and what doesn't work. Because written content, to be honest, I know most people don't read the full thing. They just skim through it and
I
they
know.
like. So you don't really know if people actually resonated with that content or not. But a video, people watch it and the comments you get are usually more like related to what you actually were talking about in the video.
Well, I was gonna look too, like even the metrics on videos. One of the things I always say is like you get to actually see the watch time. So like on a written post, you don't see the read time, but on a video, you see the watch time. And then what you could do is you could divide how many views and the watch time and figure out what the retention is. And is there a drop off point? So like you just can't do that with written posts. So I think it's a skill which everybody should learn. Obviously, you believe the same thing. So how could people get a hold of you? They want to work with you, Rona. Like, what is the best way to get a hold of you and you know have you as a coach? Because obviously, you bring a lot of strategy, insights. You're doing it. You've been in the recruitment seat. You know what works. You know what doesn't. So how can people reach you?
So easiest way, I hang out every day on LinkedIn, Rona Barnett Pierce.
Yeah,
I also, there's a QR code on the screen. Anyone who says that they saw me on the HR Morning Show, I'll do special pricing for you. So it's ronapierce.com/HR Morning Show. Have
amazing.
really cool things going on that I would love to chat with people about.
Evan, do me a favor. Drop that in the chat if you can, or someone drop that in the chat. And then yes, use the QR code right now. I recommend working with Rona. Clearly strategic, knows what she's doing, is bringing video all the time as well. So you're personally doing this stuff. So if you're looking to get in the video, you're in recruitment, you're in HR, you're looking to build your personal brand, I cannot recommend enough getting in the video, and highly recommend checking out Rona's resources as well. So thank you so much. I'm so glad we got to meet on the HR Morning Show again. Are you before we finish here? Are you going to any live events coming up? Like, where can people meet you in real life?
I am not sure. So for now, I think the next one is probably TA week in
Awesome.
February. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, hopefully we'll be there. I'll be there live as well, so we get to meet again, which is and this time spend a little bit more time as well. So amazing, Rona. Well, great to have you on here, and thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we'll talk soon. All right. Well, that was awesome. Danielle figured out that she got her bags. Amazing.
Woo, yeah, it's
Amazing.
downstairs. Hopefully it's at the right hotel.
Hopefully it's a bag just full of sloths, and bringing us to that point. Does it look like this was like supposed to be on my head, by the way? Look at that. Can you see that?
Yeah, I do.
It's like the top of my head. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. I want to give a special shout out to ERIN. ERIN, if you haven't seen ERIN and the ERIN team around at conferences, all you got to do is look for their red shoes. But you're probably wondering, like, what do red shoes have to do with HR and recruitment? Well, ERIN is the #1 employee referral platform. And look, I just spoke to somebody yesterday, global TA leader at a company, and they said that they have not figured out their referral plan and how they're going to do it. And I suggested you need to check out ERIN because, look, when I work with clients and I'm looking at a new search, I always say, have you checked out referrals? Like, who do your employees know? Those are always going to be a great source of candidates. So you need to go check out ERIN. And if you want your own sloth, which Evie, my daughter, she loves these sloths. Like, she's always begging me for them. And the ERIN team hooked her up with like 15 of them. If you want your own, I mean, how do you not want this little guy? You can get your own at purpleacorn.io /free or /free. It's on the
They're
screen.
very soft sloths.
They're so nice. And then
So
I have to
nice.
tell this story. I've never had the chance. I was at the DMV one day, and this lady, this older lady, she's super sweet, really, really nice. She just looked at me and goes, "A sloth on a rocket?" I get it. It's irony. And I was like, man, it's way too early in the morning for this conversation. But anyway, check
I never
out
noticed
ERIN.
that about the shirt.
I know. I was like, whoa, you
That's
blow my mind.
embarrassing.
Like, I'm supposed to be in marketing and understand this stuff, but
No pun intended.
no
Wow, I
pun
love
intended. But you can get your ERIN swag. Go to purpleacorn.io free, and huge shout out to ERIN. So with that, let's roll on to our first commercial break. Oh yeah, I love that. By the way,
I
look,
love that.
I've got the phone from that ERIN commercial. It's actually just my phone.
That's actually insane. You're very errand out right now.
I'm
And
like
also
ERIN all
your
day.
color, yeah, your colors are it's the same color. Wow. You're just a walking advertisement of the best employee referral software there is.
Well, the problem is like my favorite soccer team is red, and so like I'm obsessed with red. So like when I'm getting these red shoes in the mail, I'm like, you guys have no idea how much I'm into that. By the way, shout out to ERIN. So yes, well why don't we look at
Again.
yeah, shout out to ERIN again. Why don't we look at this amazing poll that I put out? Danielle, first of all,
Spicy.
why do you think I did this poll? Like what do you think the emphasis of
Clickbait.
my yeah, of course.
I mean, what else?
What other
Let me
reasons?
read it. I would love to know your thoughts. Has changed in the past few months. So many, yeah. I mean, there's been a huge RTO push. There's a lot of people, Wall Street Journal came out with something about the remote work kind of revolution ending. Yeah. I have a lot of thoughts. But I think there has definitely been an RTO push. I think that there's a problem with like power and yeah, let's get into the question. Why did you post it? Why did you post it?
Yeah, so I posted it because every single time I do this post, there is a clear trend, and without revealing the results right away, last time I did this post, it was kind of split actually between fully remote and hybrid, but a low percentage of people said in the office 5 days a week is their ideal preference. And I was talking to someone earlier, and it's not for me about remote work. It's about what remote work and in the office represent. And to me, like anytime I've been in an office environment, and kind of going back to our earlier conversation about big companies, it's always been like it's almost been like a throwback to like high school or like school when you had to like ask permission to do stuff.
Yeah.
And I think one thing that has shifted and is going to continue to shift, this is an opportunity for smaller companies, is it's not about remote work. It's about flexible working arrangements. That's what it comes down to. So understanding, some people are going to get work done at better times at home. Other times they're going to need to collaborate. But there's these iron fists coming down right now. And I spoke to someone about it yesterday who deals with co-working spaces. And, so all he's doing is having these conversations. And he said, a lot of these return office are quiet layoffs, which we've discussed in the past. But I also think like when you take a look at like the results here, which we'll see in just a moment, it's so clear that it's going against no matter what no matter what group of
What
people you
people
talk
want.
to. Yeah, and there are some people in there. I will say I saw a comment yesterday from a person at a staffing agency, and they were like, "Hey, I got 2 kids, I got 3 dogs. Like, it's way more peaceful in the office." And I was like, "Yeah, it's great." Like, and I understand that. And they were in favor of 5 days in the office, which I think you can create that right without having to force everybody back. And I think that's the issue. So, without knowing the results, what do you think? What do you give us an idea of what you think those percentages are for fully remote, hybrid, and in the office?
I would say I'm a little bit like, I don't know if people are going to say fully remote more than hybrid. I would probably say like 5% in office.
Okay.
5 days a week. And then I would probably say, oh gosh, I have to do math and I got 5 hours of sleep. Let's see how this goes. 50%
Okay.
hybrid and 45% remote, or maybe a little bit less remote.
All right.
And more hybrid, but around there.
Why don't we people in the comments? Why don't you just say what you want? And let's see what you prefer: fully remote, hybrid, or in the office 5 days a week.
Which one's gonna win? Which one's gonna win?
Yeah, let us know in the chat before we
Most exciting part of the show.
And then let's jump in. Let's take a look.
Oh wow.
We got
Wow.
well, there we go. Okay. I know, look at that. 4%, right? So Nikki said companies that listen to their workforce and offer adaptable solutions are more likely to succeed in balancing business needs with employee satisfaction. Completely agree. Nikki is team remote.
Okay. Well, I'm going to a remote work conference this week, so you know where I'm at. And I've said this before. I'm a fan of letting people, because we're not in school, we're not children, letting people discover how they work best and enabling them to do it that way. You hired people to do a job.
Yep, and Melody said fully remote as well. We got fully remote, fully LinkedIn user.
What's interesting is there's a very new hot piece of research that just came out today by EY. I follow this guy, Grant Lee Morgan. He's amazing, and he just announced it today. Essentially, there's this thing that they dissected, and it's called the talent advantage. And essentially, it's companies that have a talent advantage, right? Like they're able to attract more talent, they're better at managing change, they're better people developers, they report significantly better productivity and performance. It's made up of these 5 dimensions, and I find this to be really fascinating. The first one is what we're talking about, culture and workplaces. Second one is talent, health, and flow. Work technology and Gen AI, total rewards, priorities, and learning skills and career pathways. So companies that have the talent advantage have like these 5 things. See 7.8 times ability to navigate external pressures, 6.5 times productivity improving over the past 2 years, and 5.8 times significantly overperforming in current economic conditions. Wild. Definitely recommend taking a look at that new hot new research. Definitely related to what we're talking about here. But I'm seeing a lot of team remote in the comments.
Yeah, it's because everyone who's in the office is on a Zoom meeting right now, and they're not able to watch. They have to be quiet, you have to be quiet in the office. I'm just joking. I love a good old office. All right, I love a good environment. I think the important thing here too is like with these companies that are bringing people back to the office, creating that purpose and meaning, and also thinking about the long term. Like there is going to come a time, believe it or not, where the job market will probably start to change and more companies will start to hire, especially with these corporate roles. And I think a lot of these companies that are just forcing people back to the office 5 days, they'll get a nice DM from a small startup that offers remote and flexible working arrangements. And they will
Amazon,
get people.
Yeah. It's already backfiring on Amazon, which I'm not surprised. But yeah. All right.
So there it is. No surprises there, huh? No surprises.
Not at all. I think our weatherman is knocking at the door urgently.
Weatherman, where are you?
Oh, sorry. I was just looking up at the sky here in my basement. I heard that Winston is landing in Paris for Unleashed tomorrow, and I wanted to see him. So can't wait to see what you've got up your sleeve there, smart recruiters. Anyways, let's jump into the HR weather. And this week we've got America has been treading some rough waters because I think they're missing the boat when it comes to paid family leaves. To give you some context here, the US is the only high income nation in the world that doesn't mandate paid family leave. There is the Family and Medical Leave Act that covers around 12 weeks, which is just not enough and is only for government workers. I want to give you some contrast here. In Canada, we have a national paid parental leave that covers up to 18 months. And as a dad of 3 little girls, thank God, it's been a godsend. So why is paid family leave important? I think we've all seen the stats that are showing that we're just not having enough babies to cover the aging population. And we're definitely not helping this by forcing new mothers in the workforce right away. Then if you compound that with just a jam-packed childcare situation, it's a recipe for disaster. There's also a recent survey that shows that 82% of Americans support paid family leave. There should be enough political will to bring up the American standards to the rest of the world in supporting women and families. Because if you're going to say that women and families are important in the workforce, your policies better support that. So overall, I'm hoping for a better forecast for working women and families. That's the HR weather. Let's get back to the panel. So Danielle, I want to get your take first, and Joel, I'll go to you as the dad of 3 kids as well. But Danielle, what's your take here?
I've been talking a little bit more about this in my circles because I'm 26 and
Yeah.
I'm not engaged. I'm not in a relationship. But a lot of my friends are, and so the conversation. I also have PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome. It impacts 10%, probably more, of all women
Yeah.
in the United States. And it essentially makes you prone to having potentially challenges to have children. And so I have another close friend who has another condition similar. And so we find ourselves having these conversations about fertility. And what's interesting is that the conversations amongst women, and maybe it's happening amongst young men as well, but they're happening a lot earlier than employers maybe think they are, right? I'm 26. I'm probably, if I'm lucky, 8 years out from having kids, at the very minimum. And I think that the fact that I'm having this conversation means other people are as well, and it's something that employers should be mindful of. And it doesn't just impact like the family and paid leave and all that, but it also is about work-life balance. And does this company support flexible work? Do they support working mothers in that way, right? Like childcare has never been harder to find, it's never been more expensive. It's a huge, political issue this year. And so I think that companies that are proactively thinking about these things and not reactively doing so are in the running to be, talent magnets, in my opinion, for a lot of women specifically, but also men who definitely know that they want to start families.
Should this be let to companies or to the government to potentially mandate this?
I feel like in a perfect world, it would be the government, but I feel like I'm not equipped to really answer that question.
Yeah. What's your thoughts, Joel? You have 3 kids. I know childcare. You had a recent post talking about the challenges of childcare.
Yeah.
What's your take?
Yeah. Look, I think. Can you hear me still?
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Yeah. Yeah. Look, I think it's a similar issue as like the whole remote work conversation, right? There's other things in life that matter. There's flexibility. There's family. There's so much outside of work, and I think to me it's kind of in line with that issue and doing what's best for your employees. So I definitely think that like it's sad that in the U.S. we are so low when it comes to this. I also think it could contribute to trends like, there's a lot of dual income, no kids, like people who I see on social media, and it's almost like I see a lot of this content around where it's like um, people almost like flexing like they don't have kids because then they have more income, and then
Yeah.
commenting on that. But I think when you look at that, it's having kids, it's already a big huge sacrifice, right, for both people, right? Because even as a dad, like you're having to wake up early, you're having to do things, your focus isn't going to be there. And I think it's like doing right by your people. So to me, I think companies should be the one pursuing this, and it's looking and going like, hey, are we doing right by people that want to have children? um, at the same time, I think that another challenge could come up where like if you don't have kids, then like do you feel like bitter that somebody who does have kids isn't able to take off? And I think if that is how you're feeling, um, I don't know, maybe that's like an individual thing. So I think it's really complex, right? It's a
Yeah.
complex thing, but I think either way, it's sad that we're low on the list, and it could easily be a contributor to why maybe more people don't have kids. That on top of things being really expensive, and not being able to find
Hmm.
childcare, all of those issues which are really relevant as well. And it kind of ties into the work, the return to office. That was one of the things that was brought up. Is childcare is hard to find. So when
Yeah.
companies are just going, "Hey, come back to the office,"
Yeah.
it's not always like that easy. And I know that video I did recently about, I think it was Dell, they literally are making parents take PTO to take care of their kids. Like that to me that is just that's not the right way to handle the situation. And you can't say on your culture page, "We care about you as a person." If you're gonna say, "Hey, if you can't find childcare, take some PTO." So that's my thoughts on that.
Well, I think the stats are so alarming of we're just not having enough kids, and we're definitely not doing anything to incentivize it or make it easier. Like, and I get to your point, like not everyone's going to have kids, and I definitely don't want to bring my personal views on it, but it is a fact that we need more kids to sustain the population that we need and keep North America. This is a challenge across many different regions. And I know in Japan, this is a huge challenge, but can't we do something to make it easier for folks to have families? Because that's all we talk about, right? The importance of family. Like if you ask we had Canadian Thanksgiving yesterday and everyone thanked their family, right? It's the first thing that you automatically come to. But when you have policies that are definitely anti family, you can't say that family and working women are important to you because I can't imagine. Like, I've seen my wife have 3 babies, and for her to go back to work a month after is absolutely insane to me.
Whoa.
I don't know
Yeah, no,
why we would do that to women.
that's insane. That's embarrassing. It's embarrassing
That's
that like
crazy.
that's I can't even imagine that. So
Yeah, I can't imagine.
that's the reality, huh? That's crazy.
That is the reality
I
out there.
like the option of giving people a specific amount of time, like 3 to 4 months, and then being like, oh, you could take, half pay for another 2 months or another 3 months, and giving them the option at least,
Yeah,
to
the
have
way it
that
works here in
extended time.
Canada is a little bit different. So, not to like the way it works is you get what we call employment insurance, which is around 50,000 a year, which is not exactly as covering your wage that if you're working full time, but definitely helps the family and helps the women to really ease in getting back to work because even 3 to 4 months, it's crazy to me. Like I
I
can't see
know.
it. Like babies at 3 to 4 months are like they're so attached to their mom and certain situations their dad. So anyways, I hope that changes for the better moving forward, but I wanted to bring it up because I think it's somewhere where the US is lacking. But please don't think that I'm trying to judge or anything that you're doing in the US. I just think it could be better.
Go back. No, I'm just joking. Happy
You can
Thanksgiving,
judge.
by the way.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
happy Canadian Thanksgiving.
Yes, it's exactly the same as the US one. We eat turkey. There's really no difference. The date
Just
is
6 weeks
different, and there's
before.
no football,
You're missing
just
the best
hockey.
part.
Boring. I'm just kidding. All right. Well, we'll see you next week, Serge.
Bye, Serge. Weatherman out.
Bye.
All right. We got Zach in the house. What's up?
Hello. Hi, nice to meet
Welcome.
you. Thanks for having me on.
You too, of course. Where are you tuning in from today?
I am tuning in from Alexandria, Virginia. So, for those who don't know, basically right across the Potomac from DC.
Cool. Very nice. I like DC. I was there a few years ago. Great city, but never been where you are. And for people who don't know who you are, I mean, we're meeting for the first time right now.
Hmm.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and, what you do, what you're passionate about?
Yeah, so I'm the Chief Communications Officer at Kello. We're a small woman owned startup. We first started operating about a year ago. And essentially, our platform is an all in one planning, timekeeping, capacity tracking web app. And I guess what I'm passionate about with the business and what we're here to talk about today is using tools and systems to better the lives of your employees. Like we believe very strongly that people is the number one resource of any business. And unfortunately, I think just with where we're at in our culture, especially work culture in America, people, uh, especially in larger companies, are seen as not as valuable as they should be. So
Yeah,
we hope that our platform can be used for good in that sense.
right, right. It's so interesting. I think I got into this industry for a similar reason of like people being treated like cogs in a wheel instead of
Mhm.
humans. So and it's interesting because the study that I brought up before about talent advantage is very much about, well, companies that treat their people right in these 5 ways and invest in these 5 things often have a huge advantage when it comes to talent. So I think you're very spot on there. When it comes to the specific challenge that you're addressing with, timing and keeping track of like when people work, what is your opinion? Like, I guess let's start with like why that problem?
So it's interesting. Our whole business, our whole tool was born out of a client need from a separate business. There we all worked at a consulting business where we had nonprofit clients, and basically someone wanted a way to see who was working on what, if they could allocate the time in a different way, and we built this tool that was essentially in Excel, and then out of that we produced this whole separate web app. And so really the main challenge that we wanted to address was an an easy way for business owners, business leaders, managers to see how time was being spent and how that time could be better spent on other things, or
Mm,
how can, because really time is a resource, right? Time is a really
right.
valuable resource. Some might say the most valuable resource. So just being able to produce a tool that people can use to figure out if time is being spent unwisely or if too much time is being spent on one thing. Again, it goes back to like employee health.
Hmm.
Like if I'm spending 8 hours a day on a project that maybe the business does not want me spending 8 hours a day doing, it's bad for me because I'm spending way too much of my time on one thing and I'm not being able to focus on other
Right.
things. And it's bad for the business. So that's really the main challenge. I think, especially with larger companies, you can lose track of that really easily.
It's interesting because going back to our earlier conversation about managers at the top of the show, we were talking about, managers feeling stressed and overwhelmed. And I brought up a study that was done, and maybe you saw this study, like I think it was last year, where it really dove into what are the stressors of managers and what specifically are they spending their time doing? What do they want to spend their time doing that they aren't? And what are they spending their time doing that they don't want to be doing? And how can we shift some of that time over? And I see that this, platform could potentially be a really important tool to help managers get from point A to point B, but also in like showcasing to management, like, here's what I'm spending my time doing because you're telling me to do it, but here's the outcome and the impact versus what I want to be doing and what the outcome could be, and let me tell you what that could be. And or better yet, let me show you. What do you think
Mhm.
about that?
Well, it's funny you bring that up because I think something we hear a lot, and we deal with a lot as well, is meetings. You're spending so much time
Yeah.
in meetings, and actually I think that's sometimes the one disadvantage of remote work. I mean, we were just talking about that on the show. We're a fully remote company. I feel like you're in a lot of meetings when you're working remote, and that can be an issue. So to use our tool, for instance, if you are tracking what you're doing throughout the day, and you can show that you spend, like, sometimes people spend 60% of their work week just in
Right.
meetings talking. If you can actually show that like on a report, and have data to back up your claims, uh, it can be really useful. And it's the same for like if you're spending way too much time number crunching or something. Like
Yeah.
I think in our modern workforce, we run into an issue as well where you're just being asked to do stuff that's outside of your original job description, which is fine. Like that happens a
100%.
lot.
Oh my gosh, it's such a big I see it a lot with young professionals being asked to
Hmm.
like teach someone how to use a tool just because you're young. You should know how to use certain technology, and then you end up having to learn how to use that tool and in order to show someone else how to do it. And that's not in my job description. So can be some like resentment there as well.
Exactly. So I think having the ability to have data to back up
Mhm.
those I don't want to say grievances, but just to make sure that everything's being kept in check with the original vision or the original plan is super important.
So true. Just really quickly in the chat, write one thing that you spend your time doing that you'd like to do less of, and one thing that you'd like to do more of. It could be anything, it doesn't have to be work related. So just in the chat, would love to hear your thoughts on that. My last question to you is really around this perspective of, you know, people online, like people who talk a lot about careers, they talk about the importance of writing down all of the tasks that you accomplish over the course of like a quarter, let's say, in order to be more prepared to showcase the value that you add, you know, to an organization. And I don't know if it's like necessarily time based, but there's this argument, and I think there's a lot of value there. There's this argument of like, should you be evaluating your productivity by time, or should it be by impact and project based? What are your thoughts on that?
That's actually a great question. I really strongly believe that it is based on impact. The reality situation is, as important as time can be, it's not necessarily a measure of success. I know success is subjective, but you could pour 100 hours into a project over the course of, who knows how many weeks, and the project could still fail. It could still be an unsuccessful
Right.
project. It's really what it comes down to. It's what you do with that time that really matters. And that goes back to the people as well, allocating people as a resource and what they do best. I feel very privileged to work in this company because the leaders really value what do you do best, what do you want to do, and having those conversations, because that's how you get the greatest success output. Like
Right.
when I joined the team, there were very transparent conversations of like, I'm not a spreadsheet person, I'm not a numbers person. They asked me to work on the logo, and I made the logo that we have today, and then now I'm running all the social media. So just having those conversations, I think, has a really big impact on success and productivity, because when people want to do something and have fun doing it, that makes all the difference.
100%. It's interesting because I posted a video on TikTok, which I just started posting on. Go follow me there, please. Give me some support, some love. And it was about, you know, like people complaining about their Gen Zers and firing Gen Z like really early on after hiring them. And one of the comments I got was, and it was also about like training programs and how there used to be a lot more training and investment in employees. One of the comments was, you know, I finish my work so fast, and then I have like nothing to do the rest of the day. And I think, to your point, like that's something that this tool could potentially help with, is to understand, well, how much time is someone spending on a specific task, how much time does it take someone, and then leveraging and then going further to ask, oh, what do you want to spend your time doing, or like what do you want to learn, and then to create that sort of channel right from there, and like start the conversation to help them get to a point where they do feel like they're learning and growing, because ultimately that's what we want, right, is to be evolving and learning and growing within an organization.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's really interesting you bring up a generational thing, because that can be a communication issue as well, right? I think there are some older folks in the workplace that might, especially if they're business leaders and if it's a larger business, they might be out of touch with exactly how much time it takes to do something.
Yeah.
I think younger people, we find innovative ways, we find tools that help us do things, and it does take less time. So yeah, just having a read on everything in terms of communication, productivity, the time it takes to do stuff, it'll just help run your business better, and it'll make your people happier.
100%. Well said. Well, thank you so much, Zach, for joining. I think this was a super fascinating conversation. Time's not something we typically get to talk about. So thank you so much. I hope we have you back on.
Thank you so much, Danielle. I really appreciate it. It was a good conversation.
Yes. Awesome. All right. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Good morning.
We're just having a one-way conversation. No, now we're having a one-way conversation with just me and myself. All right, we'll get there. All right. One more. We just got to move right to the side. There we go. There we go, production team. Loving that. Jamie, welcome to the show. It's great to have you here. Why don't you give us a quick rundown for anyone who doesn't know you, what you do, who you do it for, and then we'll get into today's conversation. Great to see you.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks for having me. I am based out of Phoenix, Arizona. We just hit under 100, 2-3 days ago. So on
Where's
to
your sweater? You should got to be wearing a sweater or something.
I know, right? Put my beanie on, scarf.
I'll send you an ERIN one. How about that?
Perfect. I am the talent operations and technology manager for Swire Coca-Cola, and then I'm also the president and founder for the Restaurant Recruitment Roundtable and Top Shelf People Consulting. So my background is really 20 plus years in restaurants, and recently made the transition over to beverage and manufacturing.
Amazing. So, talk to me a little bit about hiring for hospitality, because I know, just from conversations I've had at a high level with lots of talent leaders, it's certainly a struggle, and I feel like a lot of restaurants, a lot of hotels, like a lot of these environments, at least around where I'm at, everybody's hiring. So, talk to me a little bit about the approach and what some of those conversations look like with your group.
Yeah, so the Restaurant Recruitment Roundtable has about 100 different brands that are represented, from P.F. Chang's, Cheesecake, Shake Shack, Raising Cane's, Noodles and Company, Kava, Red Robin. So we're all sharing ideas. It's really kind of like a consortium of people and covering all the different segments. It's definitely been an ongoing challenge. I mean, I think we're going through like ebb and flows of different challenges from pre-COVID to COVID to now. Originally it was applicant flow, and then we saw COVID and people started leaning on technology and using Quick Apply with Indeed. And now I would say it's really, there's a lot of instability in restaurants. You've seen companies that are going bankrupt, Red Lobster, Hawkers, Rubio's, Hard House, layoffs and closures. So I think the challenge is the stability. People are afraid. A lot of people left the industry from the pandemic, and they're now doing retail or taking those transferable jobs somewhere else.
Yep.
It's definitely not for the faint of heart. Nights, weekends, holidays, standing long hours. So those are some of the challenges that the industry's kind of seeing. I think also, if you're running a restaurant, you've got a 3 to 10% margin. So you have to count all your pennies. And a lot of companies, I'd say more traditional, not as open to doing more benefits, doing more things for their employees, because they're really looking at that bottom line. So taking care of your employees is more important now than it's ever been.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think we were talking about this earlier in regards to, I think I gave the example of manufacturing, but this is certainly another industry where it's a massive challenge, because I think the modern day, if I could call it that, the modern day job seeker is valuing, flexibility. They're valuing being able to work from different places. They're valuing a lot of pay, and I think that it's a challenge when you're running a razor thin margin business. And then, like you said, people don't go to restaurants between 9 to 5, right? They go on the weekends. They go in those times when they're not working. So, how do you? I guess, what are some of the creative approaches that you bring to your clients? What are some of the creative approaches that you're hearing from restaurants and hospitality that are winning right now? What are some of the things that they're doing that maybe other hospitality companies could take a look at?
Yeah, I think winning strategies and opportunities starts first with listening to your employees. Like, what do they need? What do they want? So it's the what's in it for me, and then also doing engagement surveys and looking at your scores and seeing what you can offer. So if you're thinking about offering a matching 401k, I mean, look at your total head count. I would argue that probably 80% of your total population is probably under 25. Just depends on the segment in the restaurant, but maybe the 401k match is not as important to them as other things.
What are some of those benefits that you find that are more important then?
And I'm so sorry the dogs are joining the call today.
That's perfect. They're bringing some really valuable insight here too. I love it. That's the argument for in the office, because in the office is no dog allowed, right?
I know.
Hybrid, yeah.
I wanted to take the poll earlier, but some of the benefits I would say it's going to be, like free shift meals and thinking about your people, career opportunities, scholarship. Are you offering English classes to some of your employees where maybe Spanish is their first language, GED? Are you offering free uniforms? Are you offering vacation time? Because a lot of restaurant companies don't offer sick time, and their vacation is only for hourly employees after 1 year. So are you offering flexible work schedules, which some say they do, but I've worked with a lot of restaurant companies where they say, no, we're only hiring people that can give a full schedule and availability. And it's like, well, you're missing out on all these other applicants that could do part-time for you. So those are some of the, I wouldn't say they're super innovative, but that's what people want. You look at the
but that's the thing, is like, it doesn't. I think sometimes people try and overthink and they overcomplicate, and they're looking for something that is innovative instead of, like you said, listen to your people, right? It's caring about people. I can imagine one of the challenges too is like with turnover. You have turnover, then you have hiring, and then turnover and hiring, and then if someone's new, or you're constantly dealing with newer employees, it can be hard to care. And I'm sure at a certain point, I've joked around it with a friend that he owns an Amazon distribution company. I said, you're just a staffing company, because he has so much turnover. He's constantly recruiting. I said, you're doing the same thing I am. You're a staffing company, except you're staffing for your own company. So how do you kind of coach people with even that, and like valuing people even if they have only been with you for a month, knowing that maybe they won't be there with you long term? Like how do you kind of guide people with that?
I was literally just having this conversation yesterday with Workstream. And I think what's important, my favorite thing to say is people don't know what they don't know. And so if you're in the restaurant industry, there's this product called Black Box Intelligence that we live and breathe off of, and it pulls into your HCM and it tells you what your turnover is, and it aggregates and shows you all this stuff. So average, for people that don't know, hourly turnover in restaurants is over 130% annually.
Wow.
So to your point, it is a staffing company. And then for any of those salaried management positions, you're losing 1 out of 3. So never mind just regular new positions for corporate or restaurant openings, you're running 133% roughly for your hourly. I just forgot the question. I'm on my 3rd cup of coffee.
No, you're good. Yeah, just trying to understand what's your advice for like how like treat and care for people where you are having that high turnover still?
Yeah, I was talking to someone yesterday about this, and they were saying, well, why should we offer benefits and why should we offer these things? And I said, well, because it's the right thing to do. And while it's going to cost a little bit more money up front, it could then, prevent your dropout long term. So you need to look at your turnover data. When are you losing people? What does that graph look like? And it's typically, I would say, do you have a really great onboarding process? I would argue most people don't. What does your turnover look like after 90 days, 6 months, 1 year? Corporations celebrate milestones at like 3, 5, 10, 15, 20. But in restaurant industry, the average time someone spends in a company is like, I think it's a year and a half to 2 years. So you're missing the mark if you're waiting for those huge 5-year milestones. You've got to really think about those people and try to offer those services and those benefits up front to them. And then talk about, hey, what do those next steps look like? What is your talent management? What are those perks? What are your long-term goals? Maybe it's a stepping stone. Maybe it's to go to corporate. Maybe it's management. Maybe it's outside of the industry, and that's okay too. Can you hire them back every season, every summer? And can they bring a friend with them? So now you have, you're like helping with your summer staffing problems too.
Yeah, I love that. I love it. It's I feel like there's a lot of issues that we could kind of dive into and get into. So for anyone who is in the position where they're hiring like this, or they're working in hospitality, where can people find more information about you? What's the best place to get a hold of you? And I'd love to hear more about how people can get involved in the roundtable as well if they're in a position to.
Yeah, I'm definitely I'm on LinkedIn. I was feeling kind of proud of my number of connections until I saw yours this morning, Joel. You're at 250, 100,000. I'm at 25,000. So
All right, it's okay.
But LinkedIn.
It's about quality, not quantity. That's what I always say.
We'll keep doing what you're doing. But LinkedIn, and then the restaurantrecruitmentroundtable.com as well.
Love it. Well, Jamie, been a pleasure chatting. I know we're connected on LinkedIn. I'm going to send you a message. Would love to have a chat with you as well. Just continue the conversation. And it was great hearing your dog, Sarah, as well, which brings us to actually our next segment, which is HR Pause. So thank you, Jamie.
This week's pet of the week is Millie.
Silly Millie.
So cute.
What kind of dog is Millie?
I don't know. Looks
Production
like
team.
mix.
Production team.
Like a pit bull / something else.
Production team.
Yeah. Wait, whose pet is Millie?
Full Mutt.
Full Mutt. Is this
whose
Melinda's
pet
dog?
is Millie? Let us know whose pet is Millie.
So sweet. So sweet. This HR Pause segment is sponsored by This Way Global. They are talking about Sully Sandbox. Oh my gosh, what a cool tool. Go check it out. Scan the QR code and they will contribute to a really awesome cause.
And what is Sully Sandbox?
Sully Sandbox is the place where you can gather data for AI solutions.
Yeah.
And it's an incredible marketplace, and
love it.
That's what Sully Sandbox is.
Yep. No, I love it.
In a nutshell.
You did it. You did a great job.
We love Millie.
Millie
So
is the best, and Caroline is the owner. So shout out to Caroline for sending in Millie. And why don't you let us know in the chat? Like, why don't you post a picture of your pet, and then we'll pick one for next week. So if you have a pet, if you've got a pet dog, or a pet, any kind of pet, with paws, you gotta have paws. Goldfish is not gonna count, but post that in the comments.
Oh, Millie's owner's name is Caroline.
Caroline. Is that
Sweet
a song?
Caroline.
Yeah, that's it.
That's what you're thinking about.
Oh man. Well, this has
Yeah,
been a great show, right? I mean,
great show, long show. We did it long today.
Somehow we had less pause. We made it longer. So
we just have two people that like to talk. So
it's true.
That's what
I love to hear
happens.
my own voice. All right. Well, we've reached the top of the show, so we want to thank our sponsors, ERIN. Danielle would have all of her stuff, but her bag is lost, but now it's found. We want to give a shout out to our sponsors, ERIN. And look, I think actually for that hospitality section that we just had, I think ERIN might be a great solution to get referrals and gamify those solutions. So maybe there's a connection
100%.
there. But if you guys didn't know too, we also have the Hire Her podcast. That's Talent Collective, and that airs on Wednesday at what are the times here? It
2 p.m. Eastern.
2 p.m. Eastern. So Hire Her podcast on the Purple Acorn Network. Go check it out. Natalie and Krista, two of my favorite people. They are just amazing human beings giving back to the TA community, and they have a great community. So check that podcast out. Hire Her. It's coming up next. And if you want more Purple Acorn, go to purpleacorn.io. That's right. IOU. Purpleacorn.io. I don't know when the IO thing became a thing, but it's a thing. And you guys can check us out on YouTube, LinkedIn, all your favorite places to find podcasts like iTunes.
Listen shout out wherever you are.
Shout out to Delta for coming through big. We're not sponsored by Delta, but we'll take sponsorship from Delta if you guys want to sponsor us. But thank you to everybody who joined the show today. We're excited. Remember to keep an eye out for Winston as well. More to come. Danielle, we wish you all the best on your keynote. We know you're going to pour it out of the water. Wear that purple hat with the acorn on there. represent, get some brand deals that we can split.
Thanks.
You're the best.
All right.
All
Adios.
right. Adios. Thank you, Nikki, Ahmed, Adam Posner, Tisha, Tyler, all of you in there, White Evan as well. We appreciate all of you, and we'll be back next week with more HR Morning Show.